Gareth Bale's return to Spurs is official. Shaka Hislop joining me now to discuss it. Shaka, do you think he can bring some silverware to Tottenham Hotspur?
He can. It will take a few things kind of falling into place. Primarily Bale, and we've seen how injury prone he had been at Real Madrid over the last couple of seasons. If you can get 32 league games out of Gareth Bale this season, playing at his best, which we've seen in Madrid, which we've seen when he puts on a Wales shirt. Absolutely yes. A week ago, we were discussing Harry Kane's body language and what that said about how maybe he felt of this Tottenham Hotspur football team. I think this signing changes all of that. It sends a message of intention, not just to everybody else in the league, but most importantly to everybody else in that dressing room, including Harry Kane. Now, imagine a Spurs front three of Harry Kane, Son, Gareth Bale. You could throw Lucas Moura coming in behind. The kind of pace and explosiveness that brings as an attacking force, I think is everything that Spurs fans want to see and come to expect. The other things that have to fall into place here, Kate, is that keep in mind that Jose Mourinho is a manager, and as good as his record has been, and when he finally is through managing, he will be rightly lauded as one of the best club managers in football, certainly during this era. But over his last couple of spells, we saw this at Spurs at the back end of last season, we saw it at Manchester United, he had been very negative. Even when he was winning things, remember at Inter Milan, he somehow turned Samuel Eto'o into a left back at times. Now, I'm not expecting him to do that to Gareth Bale, or maybe I'm hoping he isn't asking Gareth Bale to play that kind of a role, and he allows Spurs to be as attacking as this lineup promises to be. So it's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts, but if it all comes right, I don't think they leave a whole lot of wiggle room for some of the usual suspects at the top end of the table. Because even with the Gareth Bale signing, I'm still not convinced that Spurs have enough to finish top four. That being said, we just witnessed a pretty poor Manchester United performance, who I pre-season thought United could get back there again, given how strong they finished back end of last season. So maybe that's already working in Spurs' own favour.
Yeah, so maybe it's the cup competitions where they could do well. Just to finish on this one, I'd like to talk about Jose Mourinho, because we've talked about what we might see him doing on the pitch. But it's a great time for Jose Mourinho to be getting a player like Gareth Bale, who really does need an arm around his shoulder after everything he's been through over recent seasons. When Mourinho does get his man management right, it's excellent to see. So what approach will he take with a player like Gareth Bale?
He has to allow Gareth Bale to be the star of this team. I don't think there's any doubt that he will be. That's how Gareth Bale sees himself. That's how Jose Mourinho will see Gareth Bale. That's how this locker room and everybody looking on from the outside will see this team and the makeup of this squad. Gareth Bale arrived in Madrid, and initially the talk was, well, whose transfer fee was bigger? Was it Bale's or Ronaldo's? And a kind of ridiculous comparison. And I'm not putting that on Gareth Bale at all, but it left you with no doubt as to who the star of that dressing room was. And maybe Gareth Bale felt that he deserved a little bit more respect than he was getting. Or maybe he felt that he had to be held in maybe closer acclaim to Cristiano Ronaldo than he was. Maybe that was part of the unsettling of his own psyche, which we saw with what eventually came and how he'll be remembered of his time at Real Madrid. No such issues this time around in North London. Everybody knows Gareth Bale is the star of this show. Harry Kane might be their most sellable asset right now. He might be their most sellable asset at the end of the season. But right now, the star is Gareth Bale. I think that's the territory he wanted to be in. He wanted to be recognized as being, and I think he responds.
It looks as though we'll have to wait until October to see him, but you can't deny it's exciting to see Gareth Bale back at Tottenham Hotspur.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.